The relationship between these two people does not seem like that of a teacher and a student because they are always seen together outside of school hours. Surprisingly, no one knows about their closeness, not even their friends. After their closeness, she boldly went to her teacher's house and started studying. This relationship is increasing day by day, but one day, something unexpected happened to both of them. Hello, my dear family. Peace be with you. Today, I have brought you the most popular movie called Miller's Girl, which was released in 2024. My family, please help us by liking the video. Without wasting time, let's go to the movie. Yes, the story starts with a girl named Cairo. Her parents lived in a different country, so Cairo lives by herself in an empty house. She enjoys riding while walking through the jungles. One day, Cairo got to a class and met Jonathan Miller. Jonathan is a man in his middle age who didn't succeed as a writer, so he became a teacher. When Cairo joined Jonathan's class, he asked her to read some of the books from the syllabus, but Cairo had already looked at all those books. Then, another girl named Winnie came, who is both a student in this class and a good friend of Cairo. They both went to eat. Jonathan saw a grown-up book in Cairo's things. Jonathan's friend, Boris, also comes here to get his coffee. He picked up the book from Jonathan and began to read. Boris and Jonathan were surprised to see a book that Jonathan wrote. Jonathan's wife, Beatrice, is active in the evening to catch his attention. Jonathan says that a student was reading his book in class today. Then, Beatrice received a call from her friend, Amy. After the call, Beatrice and Jonathan have some drinks together. As they moved closer, Beatrice received another call. Jonathan feels annoyed. The next day, he shares all this with Boris, and Boris begins to tease him. Then, they both see Cairo coming out of the jungle. Feeling disappointed with the previous night, Jonathan was watching her closely. He asked Cairo if she was afraid to come from the jungle. Cairo replied that he is the scariest thing in the jungle. When Jonathan heard this, he burst out laughing. The next day, Cairo began looking at Jonathan. Jonathan goes up to her and says to meet him after class. After class, Jonathan really liked the paragraph Cairo wrote. He remembers the whole verse line by line. Cairo noticed that he listened to her part and felt good about it. Jonathan asked Cairo to write a short story like her favorite author does. If she does this, Jonathan will give her all the points on the midterm. Cairo said yes right away. She told Jonathan that she has read his book too. Like Jonathan, Cairo also recalled several passages from his book. Jonathan was amazed by this as well. This weekend, he invites Cairo to a location where he will talk about her task. On the weekend, Cairo visited the place that Jonathan talked about. Jonathan went after her and sat down next to her. A man began to read a poem. Jonathan was paying close attention to the poem, while Cairo was looking at Jonathan. After the poem, Cairo stepped outside and lit a cigarette. Jonathan began to share his cigarette with her. The next day, Cairo showed up in front of Jonathan, wearing a really stylish dress. When Boris asked about this, Cairo didn't say anything. When Boris left, Cairo began to talk to Jonathan. They were moving closer. On his way to class, Jonathan received a message from his wife about going somewhere outside. In class, Cairo talks to Jonathan about the author she likes the most and whose way she used to write the story. Jonathan was rushing to get home, so he quickly said yes. On the other hand, Jonathan's plan to go with his wife was called off because she was occupied with her job. Then, Jonathan received a phone call from Cairo. In fact, Jonathan accidentally put Cairo's phone in his backpack. Jonathan and his spouse had canceled their plan, so Jonathan then went to hand Cairo the phone. It began to rain when he arrived outside Cairo's house. In a flimsy outfit, Cairo approached Jonathan. They both turned to face one another, and subsequently, they shared a kiss. Jonathan returned to his home after this. Here, Cairo writes him a letter. Jonathan's wife tells him that she can't focus on her work when he's around, so Jonathan went to a little cabin. From there, Jonathan printed the story that Cairo sent. He began to read it. It was a story for grown-ups. This story is about a student and a teacher, similar to Jonathan and Cairo. Jonathan felt really happy and took off his pants. But everything is different the next day. Jonathan doesn't call Cairo like he did before. Cairo asked him what was wrong. Jonathan said he didn't like her story at all. There are many errors in it. When Cairo said that it's all about us, Jonathan clearly said that they are not together. They are only a teacher and a student. Nothing more. Cairo's heart ached at hearing this. Jonathan threatened to fail her on the midterm unless she rewrote it. Cairo became much angrier. "My story is perfect," she stated. "All you're scared of is that I wrote what you couldn't." Cairo denigrated Jonathan by referring to him as an ordinary writer. "Fail me now if you have the courage," she urged. Cairo cried when she returned home. She and Winnie began drinking. Jonathan's expression, however, was obviously anxious. Jonathan's spouse inquired about the incident. Jonathan shared with her the story written about Cairo. When she heard the story, she felt excited too, but as soon as they were able to do something, Boris showed up. Jonathan felt frustrated once more. Cairo and Winnie were having a conversation. Cairo told Winnie that Jonathan was only acting like he cared about her. Cairo asked Winnie to text Boris to keep her busy. Winnie began to make fun of Boris, but her words didn't have any impact on him. Cairo decided to get Boris's attention. They both removed their clothes and got close. They sent their pictures to Boris. As soon as Boris saw this, he went home from Jonathan's house. That's when Jonathan's wife got a phone call from his school. The affair between Jonathan and Cairo was already known to the entire school. Hearing this, his wife was taken aback. She questioned Jonathan about why a student's written narrative was the source of all of this. Jonathan was asked, "Did you and the girl have any other interactions?" Jonathan declined. Cairo skipped class the next day. She was in the office of the vice principal. Cairo and Jonathan were both questioned by the vice principal. "What's happening?" Cairo filled him in on everything. "Jonathan gave me my midterm project early. We smoked together. We also saw each other outside the school. But when it was Jonathan's turn, he was unsure about how to answer the questions. When the vice principal noticed the hesitation, he understood everything. She took Jonathan off his job. Outside the office, Boris tells Jonathan that he should have known his limits. "Now, because you went too far, you are in this situation." Boris left. When Jonathan got home and told his wife he lost his job, she began to question him. She asked him once more, "Have you two had any interactions?" Jonathan, however, declined once more. All of this was too much for his wife to handle. She questioned him, "Are you attracted to that girl?" Jonathan remained silent. They got into a brawl and began pointing out each other's flaws. The argument got so bad that Jonathan's wife chose to leave him. On the other side, Winnie meets Cairo. She said, "What you did made Jonathan lose his job. But now Cairo doesn't pay attention to this." She said, "Jonathan didn't think I was capable enough, but now he will see who I really am." Cairo shared all of this with her biggest achievement. Cairo said that neither Jonathan nor his wife has a job right now. The movie ends here. Please, my family, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.